No, we can't. So we have 2x squared minus 5x minus 12. So what's a times c? Negative 24. And then b is negative 5. What two numbers multiply to be negative 24 but add to be negative 5?
Negative 8 and 3.
Okay, negative 8 and 3. So I have to replace my b term with those two numbers. So I have 2x squared minus 8x plus 3x minus 12. And I'm going to stop you right here because this is, from here on, this is called factoring by grouping. I've never really called it that. But if you notice on our objective today, the first thing is you're going to factor by grouping. So the first thing that we're learning today is actually from here on. So everything, the process, the problem might look a little different because we're going to have some x cubes in there, but the process is still the same. So we're going to group both together. What can come out of the first group? 2x. So I divide that out, so I have x minus 4. And what can I take out of the second group? 3. So I have x minus 4. So my factors are x minus 4 and 2x plus 3. So are we good with that factoring? Yep. Okay. Go ahead and grab some notes for chapter 5. We're going to actually skip around chapter 5 a little bit. We're going to start with 5.3. So while you're writing this down, there's two things we're going to learn today. We're going to learn, by the end of class, you're going to be able to factor by grouping, which you, by the beginning of class, you already know how to do that. And we're going to solve for sum and difference of two cubes. That'll be the new part for today, but it's really not that bad. The last class got through it. We got through the homework. We went over it. Everybody's pretty good. So we're going to start with factoring by grouping, which is what you know. But let's talk about what a polynomial is. So we did, last semester we did linear functions, y equals mx plus b. Remember all that? Remember how scared you were of it in Algebra 1? It was like the worst thing ever, and now it's not so bad. Then we did quadratics, our parabolas, our smiley faces, our frowny faces. And now we're moving into just polynomials. And polynomials is like a big umbrella. It can be anything. It can be an x to the 14th power. It can be an x to the 3rd power. It can be an x to the 2nd power. So this is factoring any kind of, I don't want to say equation, expression. That's what I want to say, expression. So we're going to start with this first one. So we're going to start x cubed plus 3x squared plus 4x plus 12. And when you have four terms, you're always going to go to factoring by grouping. So you're going to group the first two and group the second two. What can come out of the first group? X squared. We have two of them. So I have x squared, so I'm left with an x and then a plus 3. Everybody good with that? Then what can I take out of the second group?
4.
What kind of 4? Positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive 4. So I'll have an x and then a plus 3. So all of this is the same as we did. So this becomes x plus 3 and then x squared plus 4. Easy enough? Okay. What if this would have been an x squared minus 4? Does anybody remember how to factor down x squared minus 4? That's that difference of two squares. So just a little refresher. X squared minus 4 factors to x plus 2 and x minus 2. Okay? What about if I had x squared minus 9? What would that factor down to? Okay, x plus 3, x minus 3. Okay? Our next one, we're going to have to do our difference of two squares. So that's why I give you a little refresher. So for this next example, let's say I have 3x cubed, I forgot, plus 12x squared, minus 3x equals 12. So what does your gut tell you you need to do first? Okay, move the 12 over. I need to make it equal to 0. Even though we're not solving, I still want all my terms on one side. So when I subtract 12 over, I have 3x cubed plus 12x squared minus 3x minus 12. You guys start factoring this on your own. We'll see how far you get, and then I'll jump in. Okay, do you guys get this far so far? So I can write this as 3x squared minus 3 and then x plus 4. Is that what you guys got? Okay, this problem's not done, but you did the process right, so yay. But if you look here in this factor, there's something that they have in common. What can I factor out of here? A 3. So when I factor my 3 out, I'm left with x squared minus 1. And then I have my x plus 4. Everybody good with that? Now what does that x squared minus 1 kind of look like? What's that called? That difference of two squares. So when I have x squared minus 1, I can factor this part down. What does that underlined part factor to? I'll give you a hint. It's got a plus and a minus. X plus 1, x minus 1. So then I can just rewrite in my other factors, my 3 and my x plus 4, and now you're done with this problem. So always look to see if there's something more I can take out of your factors, and especially if you have a minus and you have a squared, make sure it's not a difference of two squares, because if it is, you need to factor it down one more time. Okay? Okay, now that was the stuff that you knew with a little twist of some new stuff. Everybody good with that? Okay, so let's move on to the new stuff. The sum and difference of two squares, or two cubes. I'm going to tell you right now, even if you're not a note taker, which I think most of you guys are, you're going to want to write down what I write up here because you're going to need to follow the pattern. And eventually you're going to need to memorize the pattern. But we're going to start with the sum of two cubes. What does the word sum mean? Adding. And then two perfect cubes. Let's get our brain going with perfect cubes. I'll get us started. 27 is a perfect cube. What's the cubed root of 27? 3. Okay? Tell me another perfect cube. That's easy. Let's stay low so we don't lose people. Oh, come on now. No? But close. 8. 8. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, so the cubed root of 8 is 2. Okay, what's another one? 64. What's the cubed root of 64? 4. 125, the cubed root of 125 is 5. Okay, what about 1? Is it a perfect cube? What's the cubed root of 1? 1. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, so now that your brain is kind of going with perfect cubes, here is the pattern I want you to write down for the sum. We're going to have a cubed plus b cubed, which is basically the math of what is written up here, the sum of two cubes. Sum means add, two perfect cubes, a cubed and b cubed. Okay? So this is basically the title. Here's the pattern you're going to have to follow and memorize. A plus b times a squared minus ab plus b squared. For right now, just write it down. I'm not telling you to memorize it this second. Just write it down. And I'm going to go ahead and put the difference of two cubes here, and then I'll show you how to use it. So I'm going to write that over here. The difference of two cubes is going to be a cubed minus b cubed, because it's subtraction. That's what difference is, two perfect cubes. And here's how this looks the same but a little bit different. You're going to have a minus b times a squared plus 8b. Oh, this side of my board's not been working today. Plus b squared. So the letters is exactly the same for each one. The signs change, and here's how I remember it. When it's sum, it goes the same sign. So sum is the same sign, the opposite sign, and then plus. And then the difference is the same sign, the opposite sign, and then plus. So I always start with whatever the sign is, I know goes here. I know the opposite one goes in the middle, and then I know it's always plus at the end. That's one way. You guys will start memorizing it because you'll use it. But let's start with an easy one. We'll do a sum to start. Or maybe we'll do a sum to start. So I'll start with x cubed plus 8. Let me pull this up. You guys have your notes in front of you. Actually, I'll just rewrite it. So it's going to be a plus b times a squared minus ab plus b squared. Okay, this represents my a cubed. A cubed is x cubed. What does your gut tell you a is going to be if a cubed is x cubed? A would be what? X. Because you're just doing the cubed root to get here. The cubed root of x cubed is x. So if b cubed is 8, what's b going to be? 2. We're just doing the cubed root to go to find our a and to find our b. Once you have your a and your b, you just fill in with the pattern that's given to you. So we're going to do a plus b. So I have x plus 2. And then if a is x, what is a squared going to be? X squared. And then minus a times b would be x times 2, which is 2x. And then what am I going to put for b squared? 4. 2 times 2 is 4. And this is your answer. All you have to do is fill in the pattern. There's 2 things that are difficult here. One of them is not even that difficult. The first thing is you're eventually going to have to memorize this pattern. The second thing that's difficult, and it's really not that difficult, is retraining our brain to think cubed roots to find our a and our b, because our brain automatically goes to square roots. So let's try a subtraction one. So let's say x cubed minus 27. I'm going to tell you now, the signs, all that does is tell this minus sign, this is not a negative 27. This minus sign tells me that I'm going to use a minus b times a squared plus ab plus b squared. So the first thing I want to figure out is what is my a and what is my b. So if this is a cubed, what's my a going to be? X. And what is b going to be? 3. Not negative 3, just 3. Okay, we're not using a negative 27 to find the cubed root, just 27. So, you guys try to fill that in on your own. Let's see if we get the same answer. And then I'm going to show you one that's a trick, and then I'll let you have your worksheet. Okay, so the first one I should have a minus b, so you should have x minus 3. Then you should have x squared plus 3x plus 9. How was that? Good? Okay, now this next one, I want you to work with me, but when I tell you to stop, I want you to stop, because I don't want you making the common mistake and then always doing the common mistake. So this next one, do we want to do plus or minus? I don't care. Plus? Okay. So this next one I'm going to do 8x cubed plus, we'll make it easy, 27. I don't know what happened to my 8 there. It's got a little curly Q. I don't know what's happening. I tried to get fancy, I guess. I'm so fancy. I wrote it in cursive. Okay, so I need to figure out what A is and what B is before I can fill this in. And our plus one is going to be A plus B times A squared minus AB plus B squared. There's our pattern. So what is our A going to be if our A cubed is 8x cubed? 2x. So remember to take the cubed root of this and of this. So it would be 2x. And then our B, 3. Okay. Here's where I want you to stop and don't write. Just watch me, and then I'll give you time to write it down. Or not watch me. Tell me what to write. So A plus B is really easy. It's going to be 2x plus 3, right? Everybody agree? So 2x plus 3. What am I going to write for my A squared? 4x squared. The common mistake is people forget to square the number. So when I'm squaring the A, you need to make sure you're squaring this whole thing. So you need to square the number, 2 squared is 4, and the x. So you have 4x squared. Okay, now you can start writing again because that was I didn't want you jumping ahead of me and then not seeing that part. So we have 4x squared. What am I going to put for A times B? Minus 6x. And then what's my B squared for this one? 9. And you're done. Just make sure that when you have a number, you square that too, not just the x. Okay, the other question that I got today, and half the class did it wrong, so I'm just going to, you don't need to write this down, I'm just going to show you one. If I have something like 8 plus 64x cubed, it doesn't matter that the x comes second. This is still your A cubed, and this is still your B cubed when you write it, okay? So when you go to factor it, your number will come first, your x's will come last, and that's okay, okay? Don't flip it around and get fancy. Okay, are you ready? I've got a worksheet for you, and we're going to go over the answers in class today.